for January 28th, 2015. Could I please have Mr. Woods lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Honor our veterans everywhere we dare to say.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amy, roll call, please.
Commissioner Valenzuela?
Present.
Commissioner Padilla? Present. Commissioner Maciel?
Present.
Vice Chair Woods?
Here.
Chair Muse?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. At this point, I'd like to open public communications. Anyone wishing to speak on any item not listed on the agenda, please step forward, and you have 3 minutes to speak. And please state your name and address. Thank you.
My name's Greg Tuttle. There we go. Okay. I just had a comment. We were at the last council meeting and talked to a couple of the commissioners, and we saw the plans for the development on Merced and Baldwin Park Boulevard that the Planning Commission had approved. I have a lot of questions on, I did talk to Amy and understood that, everything was within the code and within the city allowance, and that it was also a gated community. But, and I have a hard time realizing that people, could maybe do without sidewalks, without driveways. And I kind of think that we need to look closer before we prove things like that, and maybe make the developer do some concessions. And talking to Amy, she kind of led me in one direction, that they should have had some speed bumps in there to maybe that would slow down for the kids that'll be in a street that has no sidewalk if they're riding their bike for safety or anything. We want to make sure that these projects that are coming into the city are not going to be a crammed-in deal and just barely meet code. We need to make sure that we want a walkable city. We want it also walkable in their community, even if it's gated. So we want to make sure everybody's safe, and that the play yard was kind of skimpy also. That if they're going to have kids there. It's four bedroom houses too. So we need to make sure that the kids have some place to play too. So we need to just kind of check things out a little bit better, I think, on that project. The next time something like this comes through, I think it should have been looked at a little harder. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Seeing no further interest, I now declare public communications closed. And at this point, the first agenda item on the calendar is the approval of the minutes of December 10th, 2014. Are there any questions or concerns from any member on the commission regarding the minutes? No changes, no objections. I'll take a motion to accept the minutes for item 1, the actions for the minutes of December 10th, 2014.
I'll second.
Any objections? Seeing none, motion passes. I'll motion. And it passes 5-0. Okay, now we go into the second agenda item. Amy?
Thank you, Chair. This item, which is a request for consideration of a conditional use permit for an auto repair and restoration business within a multi-tenant industrial building within the industrial zone. Staff went out to the property yesterday, and it was noticed that the applicant put the wrong address on his application. Therefore, we noticed for a wrong unit in the wrong building. So at this point, since there hasn't been adequate notice for the proper address, which is 5021 Calmview Unit E, we're requesting that the commission continue this until February 25th, that during that time we will renotice the item with the proper address for that meeting.
Just for commissioners' information, a point is made on the property address, and then a 300-foot radius is drawn around that, and then letters go to all the property owners. So because we had the wrong address, it's off. So some people didn't get letters, right?
That could be a possibility.
Yeah, possibly, or possibly they all got them. We don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be moving this agenda item to the February
25th.
25th?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Then let's go to the next agenda item.
Can we ask a question before we go that far? What is the correct address on that property?
The correct address provided by the applicant when we met with him today is 5021 Calmview Unit E.
You.
Okay, at this point, I'll accept a motion to move the item, the agenda item, to the February 25th Planning Commission. Do I have a motion? All right.
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Woods. Any objections? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Next agenda item, Amy.
Thank you, Chair Muse. At this point, I would like to introduce Laura Stetson, who is with MIG Hogle Ireland. She's going to be providing a brief overview of the health and sustainability element. This is the public hearing portion of this process, and is pretty much a continuation of what was presented to you a couple of weeks ago. So with that, I'll hand it over to Laura.
Thank you, Ms. Harbin, Mr. Chairman Muse, members of the Planning Commission. Thank you very much for indulging me this evening as we again present the health and sustainability element. We were actually before you on November 12th of last year, believe it or not, to do a workshop. At that time, there were no particular comments from either the Commission or the public on the health and sustainability element. So what I'd like to do this evening is go fairly quickly through the presentation to give you an overview and to see if you have any questions of me before we open it up for public hearing. And once again, I would like to thank the two commissioners who served on the ad hoc committee, Commissioner Padilla and Commissioner Valenzuela. They were very instrumental in getting the element into the shape that it's in, as well as your staff, Amy Harbin, and your contract staff, Sal Lopez, who is overseeing the project as well. And of course, the members of Baldwin Park who participated in the events that we had. The health and sustainability element is an element of your general plan that was adopted back in the early 2000s. The health and sustainability element is going to be an umbrella element to bring together all of the health and sustainable initiatives that Baldwin Park would look to pursue over the next 10 plus years. So this is integrally related to all of your other general plan elements. So you'll see some crossover in terms of long range planning, but the focus really is on health and making the community a healthier place for people who live here, and environmental health as well. So it's personal health as well as environmental health, with the overall goal of creating a better quality of life for Baldwin Park residents and the folks who work here every day. There was a robust community participation program to produce the element. These are the events that you see on the screen in front of you, including going out to the public at the Taste of Baldwin Park back in 2013, and also the carnival. We had volunteers through the Baldwin Park residents group, and then also, as I'd mentioned, we worked with an ad hoc committee to really refine the element. This image is in the front of the element because what it shows is it's downtown, and it's the hope that everything that happens in Baldwin Park, all new development, moves healthy community initiatives forward, whether or not it's helping people or making it easier for folks to bike and walk to places or take transit, making sure that people have access to healthy foods, that you have farmers markets, that buildings are built in a way that are healthy. And so that's what this graphic encapsulates, is it shows all of these things that you can do in the future, not just in the downtown area, but also in the more suburban residential neighborhoods in the community. The document opens up with a vision. I'm not going to read it, but again, it talks about creating a healthier environment and really focusing on the kids, because that's where it starts, is by educating the children. It creates a really good foundation for a healthier community over the long term. Like the balance of the elements in the general plan, land use and circulation and housing, the structure really focuses on goals. Where does Baldwin Park want to be? Policies, what are you as the Planning Commission and the City Council going to do in your day-to-day decisions to forward these directives? And then finally, the actions. These are things that city staff will undertake to implement the policy direction given by the Planning Commission and City Council. So there is a long list in Appendix A at the back of the element of the actions that the city will take over the next several years. For each of the goals, policies, and implementation measures, they fit within three key categories: our city, namely how the city is built; our environment, what city residents, policymakers can do to improve the environment; and then our health, what can the city do in partnership with other organizations to make residents healthier. And so in the Our City, this talks about compact and equitable development, allowing folks to get around, as we mentioned, in alternatives to the private automobile, and then also community safety, doing things like making sure that there are sidewalk connections throughout town so people can get around, or promoting the Safe Routes to School program that's underway right now. An example goal is what we're showing you on the screen here. The policies that support that goal talk about a network of complete streets. It talks about bicycle plans. It talks about serving as a model by having city staff increase use of transit and biking and walking. And then the actions are, okay, this is actually how is money going to be spent over the long run to implement these policies. And I had mentioned, for example, the Safe Routes to School program or a complete streets policy. Amy, I think the city did adopt a Living Streets manual back in November, I think just before our last workshop. So the city is already taking action on some of the things that are in the element. With regard to the environment, this focuses on water, air quality, reducing trash, making sure that the city addresses greenhouse gas reduction consistent with state regulations, and then also making sure that there is control of chemicals that we use in our daily lives as well. And so by improving health and decreasing pollution in the environment, that's one way to make sure that the city is environmentally healthy. Promoting use of environmentally friendly products, not just at the city level, with the city setting an example, but finding ways to encourage businesses and residents to use more environmentally friendly products, and also to have reduced packaging to reduce the materials going into the landfill. So again, city can set the example, but there are other things that can be done to bring everybody else along as well. Health, you might know that the city has several initiatives already in place. This was really the impetus of putting together this umbrella element, is to take a lot of these actions and these programs that the city had and bring them together and make sure that there is a umbrella policy direction from the City Council on health directives. And so what the health part of this element addresses is parks, about recreation programs, access to healthy foods, making sure that there are you support local agriculture, address healthcare needs, and then making sure that buildings are healthy, that asbestos is removed, that when new materials are put into buildings, that they're environmentally friendly buildings. You may have heard of sick buildings. Sometimes you can get sick from an older building just because of what's in the HVAC system, or the materials in the carpet, or the paints on the walls. The policies address all of the topics that I just went through. We've got a lot of support from both the public as well as the ad hoc committee on increasing garden plots, not just on school grounds, but having more urban agriculture or community gardens and farmers markets throughout Baldwin Park. And promoting the corner store policy that the city has. Again, the city has really started to move forward on a lot of healthy communities initiatives, and this rounds them out. The element isn't just a bunch of goals and policies and actions. There are actually performance measures that are stated so that the city can measure progress towards the goals. This can be amended at any time within the context of a general plan amendment, or if the city even wants to set up a separate program to establish very measurable or what we call metrics for measuring your health and environmental health. The city can do that. There are a lot of cities that have a whole separate program outside of a general plan to show how they are making progress. One of the action items in the element is actually it's a recommendation that the city either establish a person who is in charge of all of these programs and coordinating what a lot of the departments are doing, or having a department task force to make sure that things are being implemented over time. So it'll be interesting to see if that's something that the city council will fund. But there was a lot of support to have a person or a group of people in charge of making sure that these initiatives are carried forward. This is your eye test for the evening, if you can read that. The audience probably can't, but it's just a page from the appendix, again, that lists all of the action items and indicates whether or not it will be a 1 to 5 year, a short-term priority, a midterm priority, 5 to 10 years, or something that is a longer-term action that the city will take, or an ongoing program. And these are things, because it's not actually part of the element itself, this can be amended over time, and this is something that your city council can be looking at when it's doing its annual budget for programs, and also the capital improvement program, because there's some infrastructure issues in this as well. So that's the purpose of the action matrix, is to allow the city council to use this as part of the annual budgeting process. Not just the city council, but each of the departments as well, because there is something in this for everybody. And we did work with a lot of the other department heads to make sure that they got their wish list in here. And this is really what it is a wish list and an action program for all of the city departments moving forward. The next steps are to conduct the public hearing this evening and respond to any of your questions. And then I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, Amy, but I think the action is for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation to the City Council. And
Yes.
I
However,
have
it will not be February 18th.
Thank you. Well, I talked to Amy about this yesterday, and we think that the agenda is a little full at that evening, and so the council will take this up fairly quickly, but maybe not as soon as February 18th. With that, Mr. Chairman, I will stop talking and see if the commission has any questions.
First of all, thank you very much for your presentation. And at this point, I will open it up to any commissioner that wishes to inquire about the program.
I don't have much of a question, more like a comment. And I just want to say it was a pleasure working with you guys, sitting down on this board. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of these being implemented in the future. So.
Thank you. We appreciated your really good insight and good suggestions as part of this.
This is just a comment to, I want to thank you for allowing me to, and as well to participate with your group. Very enjoyable, and I'm also looking forward to the one-year plan that was coming up next. It'll be very, very exciting for the city. Thank you.
A couple of quick questions here. With the plan in place and the goals and the expectations of this program, where would the progression be given or shown to the public as far as, where we're at? When's the next project or the conclusion of a project, and how will we get that information out to the public?
One thing that the city is required to do annually is to do a general plan progress report. It could be as part of the general plan progress report, but I think in any manner that the city wishes to report back to the public, I would defer to Amy on that question.
Yeah, we have the general plan progress report required to do by the state.
Okay.
And Chairman Muse, again, if the city council elects in the near future or midterm future to make the program even more robust, I think there would be more frequent reporting, really depending on how the council decides to move forward with monitoring, if you will.
Okay. Thank you
I
very
had a
much.
question. How is this program funded, or is it through grants?
The preparation of the element itself was funded through a state grant. Moving forward, that's actually a follow-up step that we need to do is once this is adopted, it is our responsibility to identify some funding sources. There may be grants available for a lot of the Healthy Communities initiatives. The city is actually taking advantage of grants today, but general fund, CIP, and grants will probably be the primary funding sources.
Thank you.
Now, one of the areas in which you brought up in regards to the health and welfare of the community, the parks that we currently have are small and few. And most of the property in which the kids participate on are on school district properties. Is there something that basically the city working with the school district to, in a sense, open up and allow the kids to participate on the fields other than the sports programs that they currently have?
I'd have to dig in to make sure not just this element, but probably your open space and conservation element of the general plan addresses joint use of school facilities.
Right.
So that I'm presuming, Amy, there are joint use.
Yeah,
agreements,
we do have a joint use agreement, my understanding, and then we also have a park master plan that was also approved by the city council, and I do believe that there are provisions for joint use in the park master plan as well.
Okay. Are there any, and I guess, Amy, this is more towards you, are there any plans for a recreational park that, I remember years ago they were talking about something up near the Olive area, and now that's kind of gone by the wayside after several years?
To be honest with you, I have not familiarized myself with the most recent park master plan, so at this point I am unaware of anything. But what I can do is I can get an electronic copy of that, and I'll forward you guys the park master plan.
Thank you.
I got one question. We discussed water conservation as far as the fire department in that one meeting, and how to get the rainwater into a sump of some type. And I understand that some cities already have it. That we did even consider that on this first year.
There's quite a bit of discussion of what's called green infrastructure, and that's putting in systems or sumps, if you will, or features that capture the runoff, and rather than putting it into the channels, allows it to go back into the groundwater basin. You're like you probably know what you're sitting on. You're on an alluvial plain here, and water can very quickly and easily percolate back down into the groundwater basins if you just capture it. And so we do have policies, and that's something that the city would need to look at as part of the capital improvement program. But I'm thinking now, any new development that comes in today is required to capture runoff and to keep it in holding basins and put it back into the ground, into the aquifer. So that's for new development, but the question is, can you capture what's in the streets? And that's something that would have to be funded out of the capital improvement program.
Also, we were supposed to speak to the fire department when they do their testing of the fire hydrants, and see if they can recover that water instead of putting it on the streets. And we discussed that at one of the meetings. And we discussed that at all with the fire department, whether they can put it on a tank or instead of just throwing it out in the streets?
I don't know if those discussions have occurred with the fire department yet or not.
All right, thank you. What was the name of that, the programming you said, the green?
Green infrastructure?
Right, okay. Is there a, more information in regards to that?
There are goals and policies in the plan. If you want more detailed information about what it looks like, we could get that information to you. There are several publications that discuss it. In fact, you've got Mr. Lopez in the Public Works Department is very forward-thinking, and he probably has some materials that he can share as well. Did I get his name right? David Lopez.
All right, Amy, can I get more information on that? All right, thank you. Any more questions from the commissioners? Thank you very much. And at this point, I'd like to open up public communication on this agenda item. Anyone wishing to speak on this agenda item, please step forward, state your name, and you have 3 minutes. Seeing no interest, now close public communication on this item. And at this point, I will accept a motion.
A motion.
That's to approve Resolution 15-01.
And that's to approve Resolution 15-01. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any objections? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Amy, next item, please.
Reports of officers. At the December 10th, 2014 Planning Commission meeting, the Commission held a public hearing on CP 818, which was a request by Bob Abbott representing Chevron Corporation for a conditional use permit for the off-site sales of beer and wine in conjunction with a convenience market. Through the commission obviously held the public hearing, and at the close of the public hearing, the commission discussion was centered on the following topics. Number one, very close proximity to the existing off-sales outlets that were nearby, such as Target, Food for Less, Smart and Final across the street, and CBS across the street. Also, the total number of sales outlets within the census tract. Well, within the census tract, there are a total of 5, which were the 4 that I just mentioned, in addition to the 7-Eleven over on Bess Avenue. Another item that you talked about was also taking away sales from existing off-site sales outlets within the census tract. And then another one of the items that you all talked about was the impact on the adults and the children that are walking through the Chevron convenience store into the adjacent McDonald's fast food restaurant. Those were the 4 topics that really y'all centered around during the discussion. At the conclusion of the commission discussion, the commission voted 5-0 and directed staff to bring back a resolution of denial to the January Planning Commission meeting. Hence, we have done that at this time, and staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution PC 14-21, entitled A Resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Baldwin Park, adopting the findings of fact and denying a request for a conditional use permit for the off-site sales of beer and wine in conjunction with a convenience market, Chevron, within the FCSV Freeway Commercial Sierra Vista Overlay Zone. The location is 3160 Baldwin Park Boulevard. The applicant is Bob Abbott with Stantec Architecture representing Chevron Corporation, and the case number is CP 818. And this concludes my presentation on this item.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions by any commissioners?
Mr. President, Chairman, may I state something?
Yes, please.
Just for the record, because of the overconcentration, there had to be a finding of convenience and necessity, and of course, your findings indicate that it was not necessary for convenience, and certainly not necessary given the overconcentration of the liquor facilities in the area. Anyway, I just wanted to point out that that is ABC's rule, that because of the overconcentration, you would have had to make a finding of convenience or necessity, which you did not.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. Can the applicant actually come back with this particular application if in case, they say they decided to close off that door that goes into McDonald's and open up a door for McDonald's own use? Is that an option for them?
That is an option for them. However, given the layout of the floor area, it would probably take a substantial redesign of the building from what I can see, although I'm not a building official or anything. But yeah, they could do that in the future.
Okay.
Now, the only thing that I had a question about was the overlay in which we were discussing it pretty much stopped at Francisquito, correct?
The census tract?
Yes.
Yes.
It didn't go on the other side of Francisquito.
No. The census tract runs right down the middle of Francisquito. So the J&J Liquor, which is
Yes.
across the street on what's on Baldwin Park Boulevard, but it's across Francisquito, is not within the census tract. With ABC licenses, we have to go by census tract.
Okay. All right. And we didn't find out if that was another liquor store right next to 7-Eleven?
No, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Okay. Not a problem. Okay. Thank you very much, Amy. At this point, I will now open public communications in regards to this item. Anyone wishing to speak on this?
Mr. Chairman, we did open and close the public hearing. You can, at your discretion, invite perhaps the applicant if he wants to reply, or it's up to the board.
Okay. I think at this point, I will accept a motion at this point to accept the findings of staff. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any objections? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Amy, for your work. Next item, please.
The next item that I've provided the commissioners is the Planning Division's monthly report for December. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions with that if you have any.
Seeing none.
My last item, which I did not agendaize, is I would like to formally introduce the Planning Division's new Associate Planner, Abraham Tejas. He comes to us from the city of La Habra. I'm so excited. Very happy. So now the Planning Department will have 2 full-time staff, and we are in the process of hiring another planning technician to be with Irving, and then also a department assistant who will be handling clerical duties, and both of those positions are part-time. So slowly we're getting staff back up. So,
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. Next item.
verbal update on the Vineland Residential Care Facility. What I have is that as part of the litigation, staff is working with the applicant to mitigate the impacts of the project as well as alternative designs. That's where the project is now, or that's where everything related to this item is now. As I mentioned before, this will be a recurring item on your agenda, and I will bring you updates each month. I'm just going to keep going on, Chair.
All right, thank you.
The next item is regarding the Materials Recovery Facility and Transfer Station. Staff is actually looking to tentatively scheduling a community meeting for Monday, February 23rd. We are in the process right now of looking at a radius south of the subject site in which to send notices to for that public meeting. So tentatively, if you'd like to attend, please schedule that Monday, February 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m. And you will get information as it becomes available. We're not exactly sure where we're going to have it yet, but we'll let you know when that comes. The last item is a verbal update on the Olive Pit. And where we are on that is the city sent a response offer to the city of Irwindale as a result of the litigation, and Irwindale has not responded to us.
Will they?
And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. At this point, first of all, I'd like to say thank you, Amy, for your work for this meeting, getting this meeting together. Welcome aboard, and I guess I could say Happy New Year because it's been, what was it, December when we last met. At this point, I will now accept a motion if no one has anything else they'd like to speak about. Accept a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And I know there's no objections. Motion passes 5-0.